And you pile that on, like when you go into the team fight, you've got the tombstone in the back, you're decaying out. It can really apply some pressure. I'm keen to see now because Undying coming in, that should be the March hero. I'm not sure how I feel about a Undying Lina support duo. I think that is an interesting combination that you don't tend to see too often. It does feel like it's very EXP greedy.
Well,
Boom, they get to pick up the Necro, which you love to point out. Counteract the Spectre,
hmm.
sight out, knock him out, and keep IYD down. That's one way to do it.
The question I have though is what lane are we putting it in? Are we going Makoto Necrophos or is it going to be an FBZ Necrophos? Last time we saw FBZ Necrophos, John, I can't sugarcoat it. It was a pretty rough time for him. Usually, and Boom Esports themselves have said this, FBZ is kind of the backbone of the team. If he's having a good game, then the rest of the team is probably also going to be having a very good game. If he is not, however, things do get a little bit tough, and I do get a little bit concerned about this Necrophos pickup. However, Among Us have chosen a Sand King, which to me continues to be a very weak pick to make, but they seem to be confident with it.
It does bring some good team fight. It's actually pretty nice
Uh-oh.
into the Necrophos, but the Alk comes through for Boom. We've already seen what an Alk can do in the right hands. It can find a lot of farm, and you don't really have. Well, I guess you could build a Spirit Vessel on the Lina, maybe in the Sand King, a bit OG, but you could do it. It's an interesting back and forth now. You've got Alk versus Spectre. You've got a quick ramping up hero, but you've got a hero that can kind of stall out till late. So it's gonna be nice to see this kind of coming in, and I love it. It's a break from what we were used to seeing in drafts, just something completely different for the tiebreaker.
I like it too, John. The Alchemist, it's kind of the counter opposite of the Spectre, right? Like Spectre wants to go to the late game, wants to farm up, wants to be a powerhouse in the later stages of the game. But you've got this Alchemist that, roughly around 15, 20 minutes into the game is going to be basically 6-slotted and ready to go. Might be a pretty tough game for Among Us to go into. As well as that, they don't really have any direct counters towards the Alchemist either. There's not really much in the way of shutting him down. You can go items like the Spirit Vessel, like the Eye of Skadi, things like that to try and deal with him, but that is much later on into the game, and I think Among Us, I'm trying to think of a pick that they could take here to try and deal with this draft of Boom Esports, but it is looking rather tough.
Yeah, it's 10 seconds. There's room to flex the Lina instead of a support. Go for it for Abed. Last pick the AA and have Zephyr play the Undying March in AA. That sounds pretty iffy though. I don't think that's what you want to do. But if you are looking just to straight up cancel out the regen on the Necrophos and Alk, the AA can kind of slot in. They could maybe go for that. It goes well with the Sand King anyway in terms of team fights. To get the Epi Burrow would be nice. And boom, not leaving it to chance, even though it would have been awkward. They do ban out that AA as, that would have been a one way to handle Alk Necro. You've got to find a solution elsewhere. Maybe you see the supports, you don't have the hardest lockdown here from Boom, although Sight is probably their best bet, but you might be able to get one of the Obid heroes to zip in and out. Storm's on hand, you don't have Ember, you do have Void Spirit as well. One of those, maybe if you want to play active to buy your Spectre space, that could be an option as well. It's a tricky one, but Among Us does have last pick overall. So you're going to be able to think about it while Boom will have to show their hand and kind of show whether or not FBZ or Mikado is playing that next.
By the way, while we do have a second, shout out and happy birthday to the person who did ask me to give him a shout out for his birthday, apparently turning 22 today. I apologize, I've completely forgotten the name because I'm an idiot and I did not copy and paste it on a notepad somewhere. I know it was something 420, as you tend to put at the end of any name, just got to put a cool number there. Shout out to you and happy birthday, sir. I remember when I was 22, John. The good old days. I believe I was getting married at 23, so
Wow.
maybe not so much the good old days, but it's it was good to be young. Good times,
Yeah.
Dreaming of being a
70
Dota
years
pro
ago.
one day as a 2K player wasn't very realistic, but we all had our dreams. Boom Esports, they will go for a Slider pickup to end things off. A very strong draft overall, right? When you look at this Boom Esports draft, and it looks like, in terms of picks, it's very flexible. You can lane all these cores in any lane, and no one would kind of bat an eye.
Absolutely. I'm like, Slardar could be mid, Necrophos could be mid, Alk could be mid. So much flexibility for Boom to get the lanes they want. Among Us, they will have to kind of reveal their hand. They have some flexibility with their Lina, so we'll see what they opt for. It's a run and gun at you draft for Boom. Okay, Among Us do go for the Lesh. So they've got to wait to melt these towers. March is on his Undying, Kuki's on the Offlane Sand King, and yeah, it's going to be the Abed Lesh. Boom, get to sit back and think a bit about how they want to run into it. And all right, we're going to have the Necrophos mid up against the Leshrac, so we'll see what Mikado can pull out. Gonna be a great back and forth. What is that clockwork set? I swear that's just from.
Oh, it's broken. It's broken. Look,
Oh, it's broken.
let me max out the screen.
It is.
It's broken. It's meant to be that is it Mass Effect? Is that the game that it comes from?
Is it from Mass?
I don't know. I haven't played that game.
No, it's Bioshock. You mean
That's the Bioshock.
Yeah.
I don't play those games, John. I don't like the I get scared too easily. But it's it is broken, that set. Obviously, it's just meant to be some some glass there, John. But it's really coming out.
Honestly, this look is a lot more terrifying because it reminds me of like the Siren Heads from Bioshock Infinite or something like that. It looks like a horn. So those guys were just horn-headed things that just scream at you.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good experience if you play that one, Mike. Have you played Bioshock Infinite?
No, I haven't.
You're not a true gamer, Mike. What?
Those games
You gotta
scare me,
get
John.
cultured.
I
I would watch you stream. I would honestly watch you stream. If you had your face cam on playing Bioshock, I would watch that. Just to see you scream. I would watch it.
I'm such a chicken when it comes to that kind of stuff. I've always been bad. Like, even with horror movies and stuff, I just can't do it.
Oh, I'm the same. It's just not right, you know?
But I
enjoy it.
In real life, it wouldn't be a problem. But for some reason, it being virtual just scares me a lot. It's one of those weird things. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, nah, I get you. So, let's see if
Getting serious though, John. We're looking at these two drafts. Do we agree that Boom arguably has the better draft, or are you kind of leaning towards Among Us?
It's actually really hard for me to say. I can see Among Us playing a certain way. Like, they've got a lot of magic damage on hand. They've got this Undying to soften everyone up. And they've got the Spectres to stall out, so they've got a way of playing this. But Boom do have this run and gun at you draft, right? Like, their lanes are terrifying. Look at the top lane. It's Snap plus Slardar. It's Cookie into stun. It's not going to be fun here for IYD if he does get caught out. So it's a lot of back and forth, and it's so hard to pin it on draft. I guess in the end, if you had to force me, I'd say Boom. I'd agree with you. Boom does have an easier to execute draft. They don't have to time their ultimates well. They don't have to aim for very specific item timings as much. They can kind of hold out as well with their Alk, so should be slightly easier to pull off for Boom, but I don't think it's a complete draft advantage at all.
This clockwork. It's gonna...
Is it actually broken in game?
Yeah, it's broken.
God.
Look at that. Look at that.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
It does look like a Siren Head. Jeez. It's actually more terrifying.
I guess it is. 2 for 2 bounty rune trade here Among Us. They're going to take the bottom bounties, and side of Boom, they'll take the top ones. Fairly even start. That'll make their Alchemist very happy, and Dreamer Soul will say thank you very much for the bonus gold. Looks like he is going to be, of course, in the safe lane on that Alk, which does mean Makoto is on the mid Necrophos. And as you already talked about in the off lane, FBZ is going to be there on the off lane Slider.
Yeah, and for now, they aren't quite committing, although they do TP March up. So you've got Spectre Undying as lane. That's not a particularly active lane for Among Us. March is just going to try to zone out as best as he can with the decays, but they will have to be cautious. Level 2 alone is already a big spike for Hyde and FBZ, and once you've got the follow-up stuns, you're not going to sustain all too well here.
Yeah, March is trying to trade, but there's just no way to do it. It's already tough enough at level 1 to trade against these two. You hit that level 2, level 3 mark, you just can't do anything as this Undying. But we'll see how March does deal with it in just a moment, as we'll have a look how the mid lane will go. Of course, Abed on his Leshrac up against the Necrophos of Makoto. Obviously, eventually, as the levels go up, Abed might have somewhat of an advantage on this Leshrac, but I doubt Makoto will have too hard of a time on this Necrophos.
It's just such a safe lane for Mikado. He's just going to play with the Death Pulse, sustain over the Heartstopper aura in the last hits. Abed's just going to do the same. I think the early spikes of Abed are a bit scarier, though. So if Abed does just draw even, that's better for the Lesh, considering what he can do at early levels. We're talking about towers melting, we're talking about heroes melting, and that's a scarier prospect. So you will have to keep that in check through Boom. See if they get the space out, but March is not looking healthy.
No, he does manage to walk away, but they're still at their level 1 point as well, so it's not like you're really feeling the brunt of it yet if you are March. Of course, down to the bot lane as well, Zephyr and Cuckoo going to be there, and this is actually a very strong lane out from Among Us. Very hard to fight into with this double stun lineup. Dreamer Soul will have to play rather cautiously on the Alchemist. I think that's the one lane I really like here for Among Us, is the fact that you aren't really going to be able to safely farm if you are Dreamer Soul. He probably will have to rotate into the jungle earlier than he wants. So I don't see him getting much farm staying at the bot lane.
It's a pretty hellish lane, and they're doing a good job on Among Us to keep it that way. They will need some stacks up, and on top of that, there's so much pressure on Kezcute to just really secure those bounty runes. You do not want to give any of them away. We talked about it earlier. Even trades are ideal, but you know, if you can snatch more, you will try to go for it. We'll see if Kezcute can get that space out. But it's already kind of hellish here for Dream Assault. 8-1, way behind IYD. IYD's up at 12-1, so even our Spectre in that hard lane is finding a bit more space. And that's not exactly what you want for Dream Assault, so we'll see if they can correct that. His itemization is rather interesting as well. Now I was looking at IYD. No, we just going into the Bracer build, just standard, so we'll see how that goes. IYD is going for the Blade Mail build, as you tend to see. So again, we'll see if that's going to pay off. There's a big spike mid-game once you have a couple of levels in, maybe level 9 with Blade Mail. Pretty good point for the Spec, and we'll see if they can play around that if they hit that mark.
Even mid lane starting to heat up as well. Abed and Makoto are really giving it to each other. Makoto has much more sustain though on the Necrophos, so he's going to be much less effective than say Abed, who's going to have to cop this harass and even just eats a Fairy Fire. Abed is waiting for the first power rune to spawn at that 4-minute mark, and it is going to be extremely important that he does get it, but it looks like neither of his supports are going to be there to secure the power rune. So he's going to have to try and do it by himself. He'll salve up, he'll go for a stack, and he'll hope to get lucky. And he does get lucky. Nice little haste rune there on the left track, and he even says well played.
Yeah,
Pat on the back for himself.
Yeah, that's all you need. Abed, just all skill, grabbing that rune. Gonna be in a good spot with a haste. Maybe look for an early rotation, although he is still kind of stuck here at level 5, so it's not quite the magic burst you're looking for. And speaking of, you know, we haven't seen First Blood. The aggression up top that we were expecting from FBZ and Hyde has also tapered off. Like, they've got level 2 Slitherin, level 2 Bash of the Deep. They've got the Cookie ready to go, but they don't quite have the mana. And in this case, IYD, he's perfectly fine. He's just fine in the farm, still pulling ahead of Dreamocell. Boom's got to kind of reel in their lanes if we want to get off to a good start here.
FBZ. They haven't been able to take out March, which is definitely a win here for Among Us. As I say that, March is going to get stunned and cook it with a Scatter Blast, and I'm sorry, March. What have I done?
What do you do to my best friend, Mike?
Oh, I tried to compliment him, John, but he didn't like it. He wanted to prove me wrong, and he does go down. FBZ, the one to pick up the first blood there with Hyde. Hyde will go ahead and get a nice pull off on this large camp. It's going to be very hard for In Your Dream to deal with as well on the Spectre. It's going to be basically a full creep wave denied off by Hyde.
It's a good movement out. Now IYD doesn't fall too far behind from this, and March can think of it as a reset. He gets full mana back. He can start applying his harassment again with a spam. Although IYD is pretty far forward, a bit risky.
Looks like they'll be fine. Abed, meanwhile, he's kind of let the lane go a bit. He's trying to focus on power runes again, but the struggle is real for the Leshrac. He's finding CS, but in terms of sustain, yeah, he gets lucky again, John. Arbit gets an illusion rune now. So 2 out of 2 so far. Great predictions from our Leshrac. And this is probably the only thing that's keeping him in this lane.
It is. Abed's just finding the farm. He's been a lot more efficient in that jungle as well. So in that sense, Mikado's not trading too well here and is dropping low. Have to be cautious.
Does. Lane, Mikoto, he might just drop here. He hits a Fairy Fire, but it's not going to be enough. He will die, and now Arbit going to chase down Hyde with the Pulse Nova, and he might just have enough. One more burst would do it, but no, oh, he does. Arbit does get the kill, but now how does he get out of this one? He probably won't. Kesku does take the kill, but still, a 1-for-2 trade. Both those kills going over to Arbit on the Leshrac. I'm sure he is very happy, and he even just says it now.
Yeah, that's a really good trade coming out for Abed, and a bit curious for Mikado. He should know at level 6, you don't have Ghost Shroud. Not that you'd want to have Ghost Shroud out against Leshrac, but he had no mana, he didn't have one charges. Very vulnerable point. The Leshrac, again, has way more burst early on, so you got to respect that here, Mikado, as now that's going to allow Abed to just TP up to a different lane and start hunting for kills.
Trying to get it done. Take the large camp first. I'll have a quick look at Dreamer Soul and see how well he's farming. Of course, in terms of CS, he was falling behind, but now with these stacks in the jungle, he can try and catch up quite quickly. Bring up the net worth, and he is ahead. So, just about 100 gold ahead of In Your Dream right now. Definitely not the position he wants to be in. Love to be a lot further ahead, but he is going to start catching up now, and it's going to be up to Among Us to try and slow him down. Because they should know roughly where he is. So, you'd expect Among Us to try and just interrupt him while he's farming like this.
Definitely. It's been slow going for Boom, though. Like, all this movement out has given Cuckoo a free lane. So, he's rushing his Blink on the Sand King. And this is the kind of impactful Sand King play you're looking for. Once he gets that Blink and gets the point to invest in Epicenter, you can expect Among Us to maybe play around a first taunt here from IYD. And speaking of IYD, his Blade Mail is also almost ready. They've got some big stacks of Ancients, clear out some big stacks of the camps, and it's going to be potent, although Abed's going to take it for himself, which is fair enough. I think you've got enough room here for IYD in the top jungle anyway. And the early acceleration on this Lesh is going to set a huge pace, right? You can melt these towers, you can take these fights. Boom aren't quite sitting too easy, though. They are going to try to pressure that top tier 1.
But they are. They should be able to get away with this, as it's only March up there who's ready to defend, but it looks like he's just there to clean up the creep wave once they are done, or maybe not. Cuckoo is going to show himself TPing. Tombstone dropped preemptively. No Burrow strike out from Cuckoo. He just wants to make sure to make it as hard as humanly possible to make the push happen. In Your Dream, meanwhile, did get the bottom tier 1 tower. So, a bit of a win there for Among Us. They're just holding on to their objectives. Mikoto, however, in the mid lane, has been pressuring by applying some damage onto the mid tier 1. But it looks like there is going to be a bit of a move here from Arbed. In fact, he'll just keep farming himself now. A very slow game between these two so far. Nobody really rushing forward to try and go for a big team fight yet. It's hard to know who that does favor, because you still have an Alchemist in the game, but he's not that far ahead in terms of net worth, so he's not really that scary.
Yeah, I think if this pace maintains, you're going to be a bit happier on the side of Boom, as long as they control these bounties. That's where all of this hangs. If they keep going 2 for 2 on bounties, with everything else holding even as well, you're fine. If you start dropping these runes as well, so you're losing map control, but keeping everything else even, you start to lose, because you're just not getting that boost on the Elk that you want. I think overall, though, you're kind of fine with this, although Among Us.
Yeah, Mikoto needs some help. Split Earth's going to be there with the LSA and the Laguna. They'll throw everything straight off the bat into that tier 1 tower. They do have the max Diabolic Edict on Arbit. It is definitely not going to be a very difficult push for him once he has his next Edict up.
Yeah, That's one area where, again, Among Us shines a lot better. Boom does not push in the same way. They can't even trade a top. Tier 1, they're forced to respond for the mid push. They will stave off the push, but they still haven't found their first objective. And that's always going to be putting them at the disadvantage in terms of control, because IYD's already playing that bot jungle. There's just no TP point to block off the Spectre from finding his own free farm now.
No, there is not. He is very far behind in net worth, though, in comparison in your dream. 4.6k net worth, not very high at all. Yeah, he'll be playing the catch-up game for a bit. In all fairness to him, though, Arbed did take quite a bit of his farm, so they kind of have traded the Spectre for the Leshrac for now. His top lane, Cuckoo, does have Epicenter up, but March, he's caught out by Makoto. Does cop the Reaper Scythe. Cuckoo now going to jump in with the Epicenter. Split Earth does not connect, however. Arbed just a bit late to the party there. Does not get the stun off, and that'll mean FBZ just runs out.
It's a pretty big spell committal as well from Cuckoo. That's a fairly long cooldown. That was his blink reveal as well. So Boom's now going to be aware of that initiation tool, and it's their turn to smoke up right after.
Shot, the mid lane, Arbed. He was caught out. He's going to try and run, but they have the control. A great kill there from Boom, and they go into Zephyr now. Makoto going to force his tier 1 tower push. Go in onto Zephyr. Should have the damage, but in your dream, going to haunt in, and Cuckoo going to come in for a double burrow, but the LSA killing off Zephyr. He hit the blade mail of Makoto. Now Cuckoo in trouble, also going to go down, and in your dream, he is not safe right now. They're diving tier 2 towers. In your dream, still not dead, but is set to fall and will eventually die. Or will he? There's a death pulse following him for sure right now. Surely, Makoto is going to get away, and in your dream does go down. It was a graphical bug. We just couldn't see it.
Thank you, Ice Frog. God, you just die out of nowhere. I'm sure that's not the good feeling, but they're going to try to salvage his mid-tier 1 being shoved in, and that should melt fast. Abed's got the opportunity.
Abed will take it. Nice, easy tower. Very important for the Leshrac to be able to take that early mid-tier 1. Still, Makoto is ahead in terms of net worth. So he's still having a great old time, Makoto. We can't forget Dreamercell. He is still farming away. He hasn't really gone out of control yet, but he does have the Battle Fury up now, John. So his farming speed is set to increase quite a bit.
Yeah, it's going to ramp up here. Among Us has not been able to track the Elk. That's going to be the biggest hurting point. They do smoke up right as we say that, but just a bit off point in terms of actually catching Dreamercell. They might still have the chance, but there's a tier 1 still standing, so it's a risky play. And that's just the perfect movement for Boom. Still, Mikado's in danger.
Big pickup if they can get it. Epicenter is there, but the LSA misses this time. Makoto, he's going to walk out of there. And this is the second time they've gone for that Burrow Strike with a +1 stun, and it has not worked.
It's a risky move out, especially considering Mikato now has his Hood of Defiance. They do miss the hook shot. Missed opportunity there, but Mikato's happy. Blade Mail, Hood of Defiance. It's really hard to fully commit on the Necrophos, and now they've got to be wary. They don't have Epicenter. There's a Reaper's Sight ready to go. Boom might look for a play down the line if they wanted to, but with the tower gone, they're just going to go back to farming. Take it slow. They've got the 4k lead. IYD does have his Blade Mail. It's time for him to clear those ancient stacks, but it's just not quite the same.
Well, it looks like he was in trouble, but he just pops the Chemical Rage and they just can't kill him. Arbed was probably hoping to get him before that, but Chemical Rage, once it's active, just kind of becomes impossible. Top lane, Cuckoo, they know he's there in the Sandstorm, and now he comes out of it. The Mortimer's Kisses are going to fly in. Cuckoo, he'll Burrow Strike away, but the Reaper's Scythe is going to be out from Makoto. A mega kill streak already for our Necrophos. And this game is looking very, very good for Boom Esports.
Yeah, they're just finding the movement out. They're playing with this Clockwork Snap in a perfect fashion. They aim for the hook shot into the Kisses. If not, they just get the Kisses damage out anyway. Now, Among Us, though, they're still somewhat keeping up in farm. It's kind of worrying how far behind IYD is compared to Mikato even, and even Abed. They've kind of really fallen behind compared to her Necrophos, which is not good news. You do still need a lot more farm on In Your Dream. Still just picked up his Yasha, I believe, saving into the Manta. Still a long way to go in that Spectre. And the acceleration for Boom is just up. Like, Among Us are not able to invade for the runes. So, Grimosal keeps growing bigger. He's uncontested in farm. And they're giving kills away to Mikado, which is such a dangerous prospect. This Necrophos is just controlling the early tone of this game, and now he's rushing into his mech. So once you've got that additional sustain, it's going to be even harder to pin down Mikado.
That it will be. Oh, but they have got Makoto now with the split earth down. But what a great cookie up from Hyde. Onto 3 heroes with the scatter blast. It's so much damage, and Makoto does not go down. They do kill off Kezku. There's one. March. Still trying after this Necrophos, but Makoto looks to be out scot-free. In fact,
Ooh.
FBZ jumps in for a double stun out. Another double cookie out from Hyde with another scatter blast. Epicenter there from Cuckoo, but he did not have the blink up. He'll still just run into FBZ, and they will eventually take the kill. So overall, not too bad for Among Us, but they aren't able to commit for the Tier 2 tower. They are just going to have to back off and accept just the kills.
Those are still pretty solid kills. FBZ is a nice target. Boom, though, knows those spells are down. Haunt's down. Epicenter is down. They can play around. They've got Kisses back up here on Hyde. They will have Hookshot up in a few as well for Kezku, so they might want to play aggressive. There's an early BKB as well on Dreamocell. And you're not that strong as the Alket in terms of pure damage, but with the BKB, there's nothing from Among Us now to deal with you. That just takes away the damage of Abed, takes away the damage of Cuckoo, and even Zephyr is not going to do much. So you've got to watch that timing, and boom, they do smoke up.
That they have. Not going to find much, so FBZ, he'll just take Cuckoo's Courier. They aren't going to opt to go after the Roshan either. Kodo, he's going to show up in the mid lane for a bit. In Your Dream, he'll take a DD and bottle that up. Hook shot. Oh, it's going to be off the mark again. Kezku. Having one of those games in the clockwork. And while they were doing that, mid-tier, excuse me, the bot tier 2 does end up dropping to Arbit.
It's a Leshrac. Just can't really trade towers like this. He can just melt these objectives fast if he's given space, and boom, just gives that space away. So they're losing some map control, and you can see Among Us just constantly shoving the bot wave now. They know they've got an opportunity to force a response out and free up the map. Boom, though, they're staying disciplined. They're just staying in the farm. They're only sending one hero back. Hyde is enough. Clear out the creep wave. They're still building up on this Elk. Grimacell is still straight rushing. It looks like might just be opting for the AC first. And once you have that, you will have more options to fight. But for now, I think you're still in a good spot with a net worth lead. But Among Us aren't really out of it yet. Like 5k is big at 20 minutes in. But this is an Alk that's kind of within an acceptable range for Among Us to play with. And IYD is still getting some space out. His Manta style is almost done. So you're looking at more stats here for the Spectre. Some ways of dodging out. And still a steady ramp up for both sides here.
In Your Dream, looks to be in the targets of Boom Esports, but he'll be fine. Aghanim Scepter up on Arbit.
Oh,
They've got In Your Dream, but the hook shot again. Not going to stun him up. They got the cogs anyway. He's trying to Blade Mail and run, and he will get away. And now Zephyr looking to find an LSA to turn. Won't be able to get one. Boom. I mean, it's only a 5k net worth lead. It is still a very close game. And all that net worth lead is basically purely on Dreamocell and a bit on Makoto. And Among Us, they're feeling confident with this Aghanim Scepter pickup now on Arbit. They want to try and make a play. How do you get into the triangle, though? Gonna give it a crack. Makoto is gonna be spotted. Pops the Blade Mail. Will be fine so far. Meanwhile, FBZ going to the backlines onto Zephyr. A massive stun out once again as they do take down Cuckoo onto Arbit. He's trying to use himself up In Your Dream trying to go after Dreamer Cell. Abed's still alive actually, going for the Pulse Nova. He should eventually die. He does, but Dreamer Cell's even lower and might just go with him. The Spectral Dagger to follow. They do get that kill. Now the Reaper Scythe down from Makoto does also kill off March. And Boom Esports, they get a 2-for-4 trade. In fact, it was a 3-for-4. Gotta count the buyback there from Kescute. So not too bad for Among Us, but definitely still a positive fight for Boom Esports.
Definitely is. You're still seeing some durability issues coming out for Dreamosol. He's not as tanky in the front as you'd expect. And you do have a little bit more sustain here from Among Us. They've got this Undying. They've got the mech on Zephyr that saved IYD a couple times, although Cuckoo.
He's got Cuckoo there in the Sandstorm, and they do have him dusted up, but In Your Dream going to come in to help out. And now the Burrow Strike connecting on two. FBC jumping in at the wrong time, and it's going to cost him his life. He'll go for a sprint away. They have the dagger to follow up, and another Burrow out from Cuckoo. He likes to rub in some salt into the wound of FBZ. He does.
It's a bit too greedy from Boom to keep finding that follow-up. Now, with that set of kills, Among Us are going to try to Roshan. They do melt it fairly quick with the damage on Abed. They're not going to be able to contest.
Wonders Kisses are there, though. Roshan's still dropping very low, but the Burrow Strike is going to be there from Cuckoo. Unstable Concoction on In Your Dream. The Roshan's still low, but it is going to go the way of Dreamer Cell. He does have the Aegis. March tried to get in there to steal. There was just too much going on. Boom, they do steal away this Roshan.
Yeah, they did have to commit the BKB charge on Dreamosol, so that's down to 8 seconds now. But it's definitely worthwhile. They've got the AC up now on the Alk as well. So some of that physical damage coming through is going to be mitigated. You've got the pipe on top of it for Mikado, along with his mech. So they do have sustain coming in now for Boom, and it's starting to shape up a bit better. It's an 8k lead now for Boom. A little bit more substantial. I still think that we're one item away here from Dreamosol to really take control of this game fully, is rushing the Abyssal next. So once you've got that in the Elk, you've basically got a chance to just keep bashing someone down. The progress here has stalled out a bit for IYD. He's going for the Skadi next. It does have the Blade Mail Manta, but that's it for now. And this is where it gets a bit pressured, right? Like there's just not enough farm for a Spectre to keep up with an Elk. So you're always going to be at an item disadvantage, and Among Us needs to play around their strengths. Their strengths, team fight, with the magic damage they have, they've got to get Cuckoo to get that big initiation, find the follow-up from Zephyr and Abed, and kind of play with the sustain that March can bring out on his Undying. So those are the key points for Among Us, but Boom, with his Sages, they're going to look at the high ground.
But they will. Tier 3 tower is under siege now. Not going to be an easy defense out for Among Us, but they're going to have to give it a crack. Cuckoo will come in, and looks like that's going to be enough. Boom Esports not really willing to risk their lives for this. They must understand this game is much closer than they would have hoped. They are going to back off. They've got an Aghanim Scepter now up on a Hyde though, so they can make some more plays here with the Snapfire. And speaking of Hyde, really chased by In Your Dream, but we'll just easily TP out of there. In Your Dream having no way to cancel the TPs off yet. And I'd say Boom is sitting pretty happy right now.
Yeah, it's not a very comfortable lead though. Again, you're still kind of worried about the chances of bouncing back for Among Us. They've got some opportunities to come in. They do smoke up though. Maybe this time they can catch a good target here on Boom.
They can. BZ, which way are we going? Go towards the east, but they've spotted out In Your Dream, and that's the main target they want to go after. He'll Manta and Spectral Dagger out of there. An Unstable Concoction will not be within range, so In Your Dream now going to turn back around. They've dropped the Tombstone from March. They want to try and fight this one out, but they are on the low ground. It is going to be hard. Still, the Split Earth is going to be there. Now the Laguna as well, but Dreamer Cell, he's just tanking through it with the BKB. Meanwhile, Cuckoo, he's onto Kescute. Kescute will die. The Horn is also out. Onto Makoto they go, but they are a bit too tanky on Boom. Or maybe not. They're going to turn back around here Among Us. They want to keep going. Cuckoo with a nice burrow. They'll get Makoto, but the Mortimer's Kisses are going to try and just force them back. But Among Us, they don't want to let this opportunity go. They'll keep going for more. Cuckoo has gone down to the Sand King, however. And it looks like that's going to be enough. They don't have any further initiation here without Cuckoo. Boom will take their exit.
Yeah, they're having issues with follow-up and lockdown on In Your Dream. He just gets out of there every single time he's got the stagger, so they're going to need to find a way to just chain stun him down. They didn't quite line that up. That was just 2 heroes running down. They need a lot more damage to come true. And I think Among Us, seeing that kind of trade, are actually fairly happy. They forced some spell uses out. They forced a BKB charge on Dreamocell, so it's down to 7 seconds now. And that's just slowly whittling down. Now, Dreamocell is very close to his Abyssal, though. That's where it gets scary. He's going to get his Abyssal timing. He's going to get his level 20 timing as well, with added damage or added cleave. And that's just going to make it a lot harder to deal with his Alk.
Good. Double up is on point, but a great reaction out from Cuckoo. He blinks away. They'll leave Dreamocell just stunned up in the mid lane. Dreamocell doesn't really mind. He still has the Aegis. He'll go after that tier 2 tower now. Not really going to be too hard for him to take that out. They won't go high ground yet. It looks like they are going to move up towards the top lane where Arbed has been spotted, so FBZ going to jump in and cancel the TP of Arbed. Arbed going to try and find his way out of this one. We'll use and run. Skewed was looking for a hook shot, but looks like he was not within range and probably didn't have an angle for it. Doesn't bother throwing it out.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Meanwhile, the bot lane has actually been pushed in. A bit of map pressure here from Among Us, and that is going to force Makoto to back off and defend. But like you were saying, Dreamocell now, he does have the Abyssal Blade. So, in terms of control, Dreamocell is much more able to just kind of jump in and just take someone out straight off the bat.
Yeah, he's starting to pile on the damage as well. He's got an Orb of Destruction flying out for the Alk. And he's going to hit that level 20 talent. So let's see what Dreamocell will opt for. It should be the Unstable Concoction damage, which is just ridiculous. Now, there's a really good spike here, though. I have Scotty's up in Your Dream, and that's going to slow down the regen of our Alk. Let's see if they're going to be ready for it, as there is a smoke up here.
Gonna try and sneak their way into this dire triangle, and they will get away with it. No one there to break the smoke off. Cuckoo is going to get revealed, goes into the Sandstorm, and a nice Burrow Strike away, but the Cookie is going to follow still. He jukes everything out, Cuckoo. Even returning the stun back to the Alk, but a Gobble Up is there. They're trying to go into Zephyr. No, it'll be Cuckoo they're going first, but he Burrow Strikes again. Now Arbed gets rid of Kezcue. Back onto this Alchemist, Dreamocell, just trying to walk his way out. They will buy back on Kezcue. Gonna try and turn this one around, but a double stun. FBZ holding 2 of them down, back onto Zephyr, but the LSA gonna stun him up now with the Laguna. He does go down, back onto Makoto. He's gonna be alright. Trying to TP away, there's nothing to cancel. Hyde is gonna get spotted, but they do not get a stun off on him either. Still a successful team fight from Among Us. They are really juking and jiving all these stuns very nicely, especially Cuckoo. That is buying them a lot of time in these team fights to try and just turn and get a pick-off or two before they do have to back.
Yeah, and this is causing a lot of issues for Boom. Their draft needed to play a bit faster. They've got this combination that, you know, can really burst people down, but it doesn't feel like they're coordinated. Like you pointed out in that last fight, they were going for one target, then they switched to Cuckoo, and Cuckoo just burrows away. They need to just chain stun one hero down, focus on one. This is where the sustain of Among Us is really keeping them alive. It's the Undying with the Holy Locket, it's the Alina with the early Guardian Greaves. It is so hard to just instantly burst someone down here. And that's been a consistent problem for Boom in the last 2-3 fights now. They need to be ready to just throw everything out for one hero, hope for the best afterwards, and clean up. But with how it's going right now, Among Us are just fine. In Your Dream, he may be 9k behind the Alk, but your overall team difference now is just down to 5k for Boom. At 30 minutes in, 5k is not as big. You want that number to be higher if you're the Alchemist to be really domineering, but it's just not at that point yet for Dreamocell. Like, yeah, he's got these items. It's only him that's farmed up. Like, Mikado's keeping track, but that is your Necrophos. And You would like that farm to be distributed onto FBZ a little bit more. It's just not there. They've had to sack one hero. It is that Slardar. So he's still saving up for his Ags. It's going to be up soon, but doesn't feel soon enough. And Among Us, they do smoke up.
They're going to give it a shot here and see if they can find anyone out.
Radiant are scanning for enemies.
Like everyone from the side of Boom does back off, and I believe that smoke was under vision. They did have a lot of vision around that mid lane. So Boom should be well aware the smoke was happening. We'll get back into their triangle, just hold the high ground for a bit, and Among Us just take their outpost back. They have both outposts in control right now, Among Us. Your Dream trying to work towards his own BKB on the Spectre, but you've got the Aghanim Scepter on FBZ. So a lot more sustained for him on the Slardar now, and becomes a lot more of a powerhouse with this Aghanim Scepter. What's Dream is still working towards now? A Silver Edge. That's fair.
Yeah, just to break out the Spectre, not have to deal with those passives on the Dispersion and the Desolate would be nice. It's still, I mean, if he's farming it greatly, it's an Alk, of course, but he's gonna have to start thinking afterwards, because that's gonna keep him 5-slotted unless he wants to ditch his boots. And then you start to wonder, the investment in the Alk, where do you go? Do you just go Ags for everyone, which is a possibility? But it is going to be even more farm if you're feeding into the Alk, and that might be a downside. And Among Us, they're feeling confident enough to just push towers.
Gobble up. Dreamisol going for a ride. He's all by himself, straight onto March. March still alive with the Lotus Orb out for Cuckoo. It will not be enough. Nice start there for Boom. Everyone else is going to try and TP in. Ooh, FBZ barely missing out on cancelling Zephyr's TP there. It's a tile off. They only managed to get the Pos 5 Undying. Luckily for the side of Boom, though, Roshan will be up in less than 10 seconds. So they could try and rush this.
Yeah, it's could be a nice timing for that Rosh. Now, Among Us still has the Burst Strike Epicenter, though. They've still got the Haunt. So this could be a scary fight for Boom to actually force out if they're not careful. And they do have that break now. So Dreamisol has a way of handling in your Dream if he can get into that target first. As we've mentioned, that's been a very hard task for them to do, and that's given enough time here for Abed to actually finish up his Bloodstone. So he's got additional regen on his Leshrac, got more spells to spam out, and the lead might have widened out here for Boom to 6k, 7k. It's still not leading to any major wins. The map stayed a bit too static for this time, and Among Us still just get to play the Spectre game.
They've got the BKB up now. So, in your Dream, he's going to be feeling a lot more confident going into these team fights. In fact, they've already started with the Haunt in your Dream, straight onto Makoto. They're trying to burst him down and they get him. Dreamisol trying to go after Arbit, but he's going to use up with the Pulse Nova going. He is still healthy. Still, they will get March. Dreamisol with that BKB timing, still trying to go after Arbit, but his time has run out. Arbit's going to chase him down. The Burrow Strike, the Epicenter, all of it's there. They clear out the side of Boom Esports. Uh-oh. And with this Alchemist draft, John, it's down to a 1k net worth lead here for Boom. In your Dream and Arbed with Cuckoo are going to go into that Roshan pit. It's not looking too healthy for Boom Esports any longer.
No, it's definitely not. They pulled out long enough. In your Dreams at the point where he's an absolute powerhouse on the Spectre. Boom. They wait too long. Like, they couldn't really maximize that early advantage they had with the Elf. And now it's just nothing. It's completely gone. Among Us are basically in the driver's seat in terms of net worth now because of how they evened out the map. And now they also control these bounty runes. Like, that's something the Alch will constantly want. They're not going to find a single one. So your Alchemist that's behind will continue to start to fall behind. He doesn't have enough slots to pull off a full item advantage anymore unless he ditches his Cleave. And Among Us can now just do what they want. It's down to execution for Boom. They've got to find a way to go in, figure out what hero they want to prioritize. The issue is Among Us and every single one have very clearly defined roles. They've got a lot of sustain from their two supports. They've got a lot of control coming out from Cuckoo. And you can't open up on In Your Dream because he is way too tanky to instantly burst. So boom, they've got to figure out an answer to this issue. It's really costing them a lot here now.
And it is. Recane it worth lead to Among Us. Dota Plus has dived quite a bit, John. 74% for Among Us now, and I would have to agree. Up against the Spectre draft, with an Alchemist behind, it's never going to feel very good. It's not that the Alch is behind, but in terms of the net worth as a whole, it's not going to feel good for Boom Esports. I wonder what the game plan is now. Like, what do you do about this?
It's just so hard. Like, you're never gonna catch Among Us split up. If you do, then you take the chance and try to burst whoever's alone. When it comes down to a 5v5, there's just so much more control, so much more sustain.
You've got the Shivers as well as the Escalating now as well, John.
Oh yeah.
Arbit's got that extra. What do you even call it? The whatever it's called. The
heal mitigation.
Yeah, the healing mitigation.
Yeah, this is even worse now as well because Cuckoo has his hags up on top of that. So you've got the longer range burrow strike with a caustic finale. It makes it so much easier for Cuckoo to just line his initiation up. And it's going to make it so hard to fight into because just getting the caustic off onto multiple heroes is going to cause so much headaches here for Boom. They've got to be very cautious in going in these next fights, and they are defending their tier 2 mid well. So Among Us aren't really finding an objective to make a move on, but they're still stuck in a very awkward spot to farm now for Boom.
They're just going to try and buy more time. Kodo does give himself a very nice neutral item in the Wheedless Shaco, so that's going to give him an extra, 1.2k. Make him a lot tankier on that Necrophos now. But, Cuckoo going in for a Burrow Strike on Makoto. Arbed will connect with the Split Earth and In Your Dream going to come in, but a great gobble up play out from Hyde will save Makoto. Does give his own life away for that. It's well worth it saving this Necrophos. Shot, going to cancel off the TP from Arbed. He might just turn around though. I'm not sure about that. And the reason why is that Dreamer Soul, he's actually pushing out the top wave. Now Abyssal Blade out on Zephyr. They're trying to delay this Rax going down, but Dreamer Soul going to chase down Zephyr now and does get the leader kill and will even get the Rax. Nice TP cancellation out from Kesku. Stopping Arbed from defending. That'll be one Rax down for Among Us.
And that's something Boom can do every single time. You can maybe play around the split push potential of Dreamosol, force Among Us to try to respond to these fights. And they've got to be cautious. You can't just TP outside like that now if you know the clock works around. They do have to watch themselves there. One Rax down, or at least one melee Rax down. They're going to slow down the pace of Among Us just a tad bit. But they still have quite a lot going for them. Like, the net worth lead is still gone. And it's in their way now, which is massive against an Alch. And they still hold on to the Aegis, so they can still maybe make a play out here.
They're going to try. Dreamer Soul with the Silver Edge watching it. Oh, that's going to be a dangerous play from Dreamer Soul. He's gone in by himself. The Burrow Strike is out from Cuckoo with the control from Arbed. But FBZ, he's going to jump in with the stun. Dreamer Soul is going to be fine. He does go ahead and aim the Tombstone, but a 3-man Split Earth, and now the Burrow Strike out. It's massive from Cuckoo, but is it going to be enough? Dreamer Cell still fighting. Reaper Scythe out. Arbed with the Pulse Nova, doing so much damage, and he eats the cheese. He'll survive a bit longer, but eventually does go down to Hyde. Still In Your Dream, does get an ultra kill on the Spectre. And Dreamer Cell is the only man to walk out of there alive. A very close call for him. But man, oh man, Arbed with that cheese just surviving so much longer than he should have. This game is really starting to get quite close between these two. Walked in Your Dream. He wants to fight. He gets a bash. Dreamer Cell will use the Abyssal, hops the Silver's Edge and just runs. Your Dream can't see him right now, but trying to guess. No. Dust out from March, but there's your breakout from Dreamer Cell. They're still going to try with the Tombstone out. They want buybacks out of the side of Boom Esports for Dreamer Cell. He's just going to try and fight back. He'll get March, but then there's two Tombstones. There's two They get the kill.
Oh my
Messy,
God.
messy, messy from Dreamercell. He, I don't know, I guess he could have just run, but he wanted to play on the edge there, and it did not work out for him.
No.
FBZ, though, he's going to get some Tombstone gold, which is nice.
Yeah, it's always nice, but at this point, that 300 gold's not enough to really swing in a big way, so... Among Us making good use of their Aegis cheese. Now, the issue here is they can't transition to an objective. So they found those wins, but it doesn't really lead to much. They're just stuck farming up, which is something Boom's going to be happy about. They do manage to get some space out to buy some of these Ags out. They've got the Ags on Mikado now. So you've got the lower cooldown in the Ghost Shroud and the increased Heartstopper aura when that Shroud's up. So there's a little bit more presence here for Mikado, but you have the Ags out as well for Sephiroth. So you've got that pure damage Laguna that can rip right through the BKBs, and you're going to have options in these fights now if you're Among Us. They do have the 4K lead. They're starting to invade that triangle, keeping eyes on it, and start to find their tier 4 items as well. And the Abyssal is up on In Your Dream. He didn't have that in the last fight. Now you're going to have to deal with a Spectre with that Abyssal. And I think In Your Dream is now pretty much set to just take over this game if Boom is not ready to handle him.
Very scary stuff. Will Shaco now found for Arbet as well, John. That's he's already tanky as it is. 4k HP now on our left rack, but in the triangle, Gobble Up is there onto Makoto. Cuckoo was the target. He's going to be okay into a double burrow strike now, and the Haunt out In Your Dream comes in. Dreamercell's very, very low, just trying to run away, going back onto that Spectre, but In Your Dream, he's willing to fight back. He can man fight Dreamercell, they just can't kill him. Cuckoo still in trouble. FBZ does kill him off, but the dagger is going to follow FBZ. Still trying to run, but Arbet with the Shivers Guard going to slow him down and should have the control now for FBZ to go down. Boom Esports, they just can't get a win in these team fights. And as time goes on, it just gets more and more difficult.
Yeah, it's just a Spectre effect. Like, In Your Dream stands up there, they can't really hit him too much because Blade Mail plus Dispersion is really ridiculous. It's actually so ridiculous at this point in the game as well because of how Blade Mail's been reworked. Right? If you've just got passive 20% return, combine that with Dispersion, you are just not winning right-click trades with that Spectre. And Widow's Hero's dead. With a Leshrac, you can melt these objectives so fast. Like, there's just nothing that can be done. There's no kisses here. There's no Necrophos. They do have the buyback in FBZ, but that hero won't really get anything done. They will play it safe and pull back. That does give some time for Dreamercell to finish up the Satanic, so he's just going to stand and try to fight. He's saving up for the Divine here on the Alchemite. It's desperate times.
It's the only way.
Desperate times call for it.
This is a best-of-1 tiebreaker. You don't have any second chances here. You don't really want to start your run off in the lower bracket. It's not very fun down there, I'll tell you, John. Like Dreamercell is just about at that Divine Rapier timing for his, rather the gold for it. I'll give him the space to farm it up. Do you just rush for a smoke straight after you've got it?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, you smoke up, you try to get something ASAP before anyone sees you carrying it, and just hope for the best. I think that's got to be the game plan here now for Boom. Among Us, I mean, they're going to have Haunt up in a bit. This is actually a pretty risky time to fight for the side of Boom, but we'll spot out the Roche. That is a Roche with a refresh. We'll try to sneak it, but March... Oh, the Courier's watching.
That's a double Reaper sight there for Makoto. Haunt in, hit vision, Tombstone dropped as well. They do Haunt straight back into the back lines. Onto Hyde, but he'll glimmer cape up. Aegis on the deck. Dreamercell does take it. However, March trying to steal the other items, but he cannot get him. Dreamercell just going to go after him now on that Undying, trying to take him out. Meanwhile, In Your Dream, fighting everyone else with Cuckoo. Gobble Up is there from Hyde. Back onto Cuckoo. Looks like Dreamercell. He will lose his first Aegis. Reaper Scythe on Cuckoo will take him out. He'll buy back. They'd still love to fight. Dreamercell doesn't have that secondary life anymore. But he does have the cheese, he does have the refresh shard on this Alchemist. He managed to pick everything up.
Yeah, It's still a very decent Roche going out for Boom. They forced the buyback out from Cuckoo, so you're happy enough with that. IoT's got to be a bit careful in the front, as you do have a lot of numbers here from Boom if they wanted to make a play. It looks like they're going to be a bit cautious. Maybe a bit of a reset. If they can find an angle with a burst track, though, that would be pretty nice here for Among Us.
Gonna try. Just gonna hang around with each other in that mid lane. So no Divine on Dreamer Soul yet. He went for the Moonshot. Smoke up. Among Us. Gonna get run into. Big stun out from Dreamer Cell, but Cuckoo trying to stun back. Keskut's in with a hook shot. He's trapped in the cogs. Arbed still safe. Zephyr will go down. In Your Dream, meanwhile, will chase down FBZ, but he's gonna make a run for it as Arbed controls everyone else in Cuckoo. A massive stun out with the epicenter. He's gonna clean him up. FBZ, the only one to survive. He'll go for a run, but Arbed is on the chase. 4 legs are faster than none, John. FBZ, it's not the time to farm, sir. It is not the time to farm. He does go down, a full team wipe to the side of Among Us. And this might be it. I mean, they don't have buyback on their Slaughter, nor their Alf, nor Hyde on the Snapfire.
You got to remember, when you've got that Lush Rack, you can just absolutely melt these towers as well. They could just easily dig into those tier 4s. They should understand that, and they might set their eyes for it right after.
Yeah, they might. Arbed, he's looking at it. It looks like they are going to make the safer play. They'll try for the Megas. That'll be the secondary racks going down, and of course they'll have plenty of time for the third one. Boom Esports. Again, it is a best of one. They don't want to call it too early, but Makoto has been called out by Cuckoo and does go down. He just died back. Keskut's down as well. Keskut will buy, but the tier 4s are under siege. This is looking pretty tough. A clockwork against the side of Among Us. How's he going to do this one, John?
I don't reckon you can, Mike. He's trying to distract, but...
He's going to Glimmer Cape, hook shot in, but they've called the GG. Gets a nice hook shot into a 3-man cogs, but he does eventually go down. And the Ancient is going to go, and that'll mean Among Us do pull off the victory in this best of one tiebreaker. And they do go to the upper bracket of the playoffs, where Boom Esports will have to start in the lower bracket of the playoffs. So they are 4th and 5th place respectively.
Yeah, it's a better start for Among Us. They're going to be very pleased with how all of that turns out for themselves. Now, I do believe we actually do have rough ideas of how these brackets are going to play out. We've at least got one of our first lower bracket lineups already set. It's Neon up against 496. And I believe that does mean we're going to have Boom versus Signal Ultra for the other lower bracket. So that's how the cookie crumbles here. Unfortunate for Boom. They did manage to... they went for the Elk. They looked pretty good early on, but they never really widened the lead over 5 to 8K. And Among Us, they just hold out. They believe in your dream. He delivers, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, give it to him, John. Of course, like you mentioned, though, the lower bracket is starting tomorrow. And of course, it is going to be, like you mentioned, Boom Esports versus Signal Ultra to start us off. And then Neon Esports versus 496 to finish us off for tomorrow. That is going to be the start of the playoffs, and upper bracket will start the day right after. Of course, with that, John, that is it for us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I am looking very forward to these playoffs. It looks like it's going to be very exciting.